Welcome back to Dime Comic Bros podcast. All three of us are indeed actually brothers, but not by blood, only in the way of like we drink mead and we started growing our beards since the day we were born.
And we throw the same penis size.
We throw axes.
We've been braiding our beards together.
And now they are our pubes.
What?
Yes.
You said you're...
No, we've been braiding our beards together as the three strands for like 20 years now. So we are just like an Evil Dead abomination.
Wait, so we're Vikings now?
Yes, that's where I was trying to go.
Yeah, he said mead, and you didn't immediately think Vikings?
No, I did. I immediately thought mead. I mean, Vikings, mead, whatever. Fuck my ass, dude. Yeah.
Dibs.
Why buy a comic that might cost more than a dime? Come meet the brothers who are here to waste your time.
I am Jacob, joined by Spencer and Collin.
Hi, Spencer's dying.
This is nothing on the degeneracy that you are going to hear in this episode because we have gathered today to talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Also known as...
Chroma Exodus Ganglion.
I love that shit. When you guys said that, you guys said that to me, right?
That was
I started.
Yeah, you started that. I used
3 years
that.
ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago, and
It was like the first couple of episodes. You were talking about the rebuilds, and we just haven't let it go since.
I love that.
No one understands the joke, but it works. It works. It's good for us.
I love it.
Inside baseball, you know?
Baseball.
Where do you use it?
Use what?
My joke.
Oh, in group chats, or I started using it on Reddit, and the people that like are in Evangelion, they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yes, I love Exodus Chromus, blah 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 blah." I love the purple McNugget woman.
Well, you were talking last, so you should start us off.
Fuck.
Talking about Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Can you give us a general plot summary within a paragraph of what happens in this show?
The general summary is it is about a boy who is the son of a man who runs a Gundam company called Nerve, where they protect Tokyo 3 from angels who fall out of the sky. And they yell at him saying, "Shinji, get into Evangelion!" And that's the show.
That's fair. That's pretty on point.
Yeah. And he has to live with a registered sex offender.
You mean a woman?
Obviously.
Wow.
No, I'm talking about the penguin.
Pen would do. He would do that.
Pen is actually probably the most sane character in the entire show.
He literally is, though. He's just
is.
like, what are they doing? I'm going back to bed. Every couple episodes, it's just... Oof.
The entire show, I was thinking, I like to place people in my life in the show, and I'm like, I think this might be Spencer.
Wow.
What?
It's
Pen?
Pen?
I think, or Pen is Jacob.
That would make more sense.
Yes.
And then you are just, Ikari? The father?
No.
Why? I don't know, I just like being a dick.
He's acting like I am not like Asuka.
That's what I was gonna say. That was exactly what I was gonna say.
Oh, Collin nearly just threw up.
You two are stupid idiots and gay! I don't like to think about my emotions!
That was a very good...
Dude,
Jacob was paying attention.
Dude, she is like the worst.
But she's also the best.
No.
Okay, so...
Spencer's into redheads.
I mean, it's a child.
Yeah, we're not... Could we not pedo post this episode for once?
Actually, the only attractive women are obviously
Mami
Misato and then the blonde.
You mean
pick-me
the adults? Yes, the adults are attractive.
Not all of them. There's like 2 women and 1 man.
He's going to disagree with you.
The watermelon man.
He thinks Shinji's father is kind of hot.
What?
Oh, he probably does.
Oh my gosh.
No, he thinks the
No.
old creepy man is.
You guys are horrible. I want to go one episode without, like, borderline breaking YouTube's terms of service, and you guys are like, no. Okay, so, yeah, we follow the boy who is the pilot for a a big mecha.
Yeah, he's
This show is like half meta satire of like the mecha, like big monsters. What are they called? I forgot. Kaiju. There we go.
Kaijus and
like
Gundams.
kaijus and like mecha TV show. It's like half doing it with a layer of not necessarily satire, but like somewhat level of deconstruction, particularly in the second half. And then the first half is just like big robots.
Kind of. How I've always taken the show was that it's just the man who directed this and created Evangelion. He's kind of a strange individual in a way. I mean, he had a lot of reasonings for what he did, but in the show, it's just kind of things he had problems with growing up. Like, he has crazy bad mommy issues.
Yeah,
that was a huge point in the show.
The original mangakas, like, whatever the fucking term is it's not like a show. It's kind of like a showrunner, kind of.
He's a director.
He doesn't direct, but he didn't direct every episode exactly. Whatever.
No, whatever. Showrunner, whatever.
The guy in front of it.
Yeah, because mangaka.
I know that it's not the right term, but it's like basically that because he doesn't. It's not like he hand animated every frame himself, but like he did work on it. Whatever.
Yeah.
The actual storyteller for this show, it's like very open the whole time, and especially afterwards. Like this is very much so like a personal project for him, not just because it's the thing I wanted to do, but like. Shinji is a self-insert, like really bad. It's a really bad, like it's a very clear self-insert character. He's at the time
He's literally me.
Yeah, he is literally
It's not even like a bad self-insert. Like self-inserts are bad, but this is like, hey, I feel like I'm a piece of shit and I can't do anything. That's this kid.
I mean,
me.
I mean, more so as in the character doesn't have a whole lot of redeeming qualities other than being the protagonist. Like, at the time, especially for anime, he was very antithetical to your usual protagonist.
Oh, yeah.
This was in the midst of mostly fighting animes.
Yeah.
Where everyone's just, and they're all, like, cool, and they go eat donuts and shit. Then this one's like, this kid's kind of miserable and a little pervy.
Yeah, the only ones that can actually do anything are, like, Asuka and... Rey.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to say Rey, but then I was thinking, no, that's Star Wars. But no, her name's Rey too.
Yeah.
Rey Ayanami.
I thought the crazy, huge, magical twist at the end was going to be that all of the robot and kaiju stuff was an allegory for something. So I was looking for, like, all of it to be an allegory, and I didn't... Maybe there are things there that were a lot smaller than I was expecting. But the thing I came out with was Rey and Asuka, Shinji's two friends, are the exact opposite. One is literally a robot that has no emotions and doesn't talk to anybody about their emotions or even shows emotions. And then the other one is all emotion. Wow. And so I was expecting them to be like the different parts of his brain and thoughts and whatever, but that's not really how it turned out.
I mean, you can take that, you could say that it is like that. I mean, there are a lot of parts about this show that are just up for interpretation and stuff, but it's probably a reason for that Spencer's about to say.
Right, Rey is ethos, like Spock, the logic and all of that, and then Asuka is it pathos?
Yes.
All the emotion and no logic. And I always forget the third leg.
Okay, well, Spencer.
Yeah, so there's two things that you just kind of poked in on, and so there's the one thing, the big allegory, because there's a lot of religious symbolism and stuff.
No, there isn't. There's nothing religious
Literally
in
nothing.
this show.
There's absolutely nothing. He was like, oh yeah, the name Evangelion and some Christian things. I want to put this in because it sounds cool. Because they're called aliens, but they're not, angels, but they're really not.
So that's what I was gonna say. Is I don't remember where I heard this, but someone described the way, typically speaking, a lot of Japanese products and like art projects use Christian mythology is like Americans using Roman and Greek mythology. It's because it's cool. It's not really meant to be more than an aesthetic choice, and like it's cool. Like using it as right. It's not really supposed to be that deep. And then your second point with the different characters kind of representing different parts of Shinji's brain, kind of. You're sort of I can't say wrong because that would be incorrect. But like the thing that I think is a bigger focus is the different adults in his life are really distinct like life paths that he can go down, because Shinji is fucking boring. He's a blank slate of a person. He has no real personality. Like, he is default human. But all the people that are around him are very clear, like, different ways that you can deal with your shit, and none of them are good or healthy. So it's like you have, head scientist lady. I don't remember her name. The blonde.
Yeah, I know.
The blonde.
Yeah,
the
the
blonde
other
is kind
mom.
of opposite, like, Masato, where it's like they're similar and they're obviously very comparable in, like, age, but they do focus on different parts of their lives, and they're both emotionally stunted, but in very different ways, and it also applies to his friends as well. Like, they're not... It's not like the whole show is, like, his brain, but it's like you have to choose your own path, and you can't keep letting people's expectations dictate what you want to do, because that's like the end of the show is Shinji being like, I want to live, because that's like the whole show is he's cripplingly depressed and lonely and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and the only time he can ever do anything is if he's going to get praise afterwards.
Right, he just does things for other people's approval, like, non-stop, and at the end it's like, but people will come to me if I just live my life, so I should live my life.
So the only really deep part about this whole show that I can take away from, other than probably Mami Masato, is that the message is, in life you are always going to hurt someone. You're inevitably going to hurt someone, and you're going to be inevitably hurt, but that shouldn't stop you from just living your life.
Yeah.
That is pretty much word for word from the guy who created this.
Yeah, he was very explicit.
Out of all the things he said, this is what you probably should take from the show.
Yeah, especially after the show came out and fan reactions, let's say. Like, he was pretty honest about, like, this, it's like the whole show is like a depressive period. It's like, you have the big ebb and flow of the action and the plot bouncing back and forth between, like, different, like, genres of anime, but then you have, like, the end point is, like, you were depressed, but the only way you're going to really stop being depressed is if you go do things, like, for yourself. Like, you're not... Stop trying to make other people happy and just go, like, actually be an adult now. It's like a... Yeah. That's, like, the thing.
I like this style of animation.
Yeah.
Very much.
I love this
I
shit.
like things that look like this.
I agree with Jacob.
So you guys understand why I like this show so much.
You mean because it's good?
Mami Misato.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
mean, besides Mami Masato, like, that's, like, probably one of my favorite crushes ever.
Collin really does like the messy bitches.
I do! It's fucked up! Especially with purple hair bitches.
Oh my gosh.
With the miniskirts. But anyways, what do you guys have for, like, which episode did you like the most? I wanna know.
I'm going to cheat openly, brashly, and say that the last 4 or 5 episodes where, like, it's Shinji's meltdown and he's trying to process what is happening felt like it should have been all squished together into one episode. It felt seriously cut up.
Just wait.
So I understand what you're saying, and I do tend to agree because the pacing does really suffer there. I do really appreciate, especially obviously the last 2 episodes where they had a major artistic shift entirely for budgetary reasons. They literally ran out of money.
Right, that's kind of what it felt like, too.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's a really cool behind the scenes story. Like, halfway through the show, like around episode 16 is when it takes, like, the kind of turn for the worse. Or it's like when the behind the scenes stuff started really kicking off of, like, they don't have enough time and money, so there's less action and blah 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 and whatever. But the last 2 episodes having a really big artistic shift of, like, we have literally no money and we need someone to hand animate this and just go for, like, expressionism. I really really like it. Is very slow and it can definitely be difficult to parse, you know, without thinking about, like, a lot afterwards and, like, kind of skipping around and looking through more imagery. But I do kind of agree that the last bit is where it's the most interesting.
I just think it was, like, according to the story, that the last 5 episodes really were just, like, the same moment in time.
Yeah, kind of.
And
yeah.
kind of just should have been squished all together into one. The episode where the angel gets into Nerve and they have to like shut down all the power and do Hacker Man stuff.
And then like Shinji
cool.
and a bunch of the three children have to like go through the vents and shit like
Isn't that. It's like 16. I
don't remember.
No, that's like early.
Is that earlier?
Mommy Misato is having a heart-to-heart with the blonde lady and
I would
sharing mommy issues.
That's definitely one of my favorite episodes. I like how well it does character stuff without needing to use like
episode 11
the Ava units. Okay, that makes sense.
Tokyo 3 loses power just as another angel is detected. The Ava pilots must enter the base from the surface while Nerve preps the units manually. Because actually, I think mine might be episode 13, the angel infiltration, because we get to see inside of like the Magi, stuff like that.
That's
just
really cool
the
stuff.
art of all of that.
Yeah.
I love all the action and all those elements that are part of the show, but I think when we really get to see the nitty-gritty like inside and of the insides of like Nerve, it really interests me. Even if it doesn't really go anywhere, I just like looking at it.
Yeah, it's very aesthetically interesting stuff. So my favorite was 14, which is
that's such a good one too.
I think
Sele, the seat of the soul.
I like how much of it is painted. There's a lot. I think it's the highest effort episode in terms of like probably sheer time worked on it. Outside of the last two, like if you add up the man hours of how many different animators were probably working on it, the fact that there's most of it's done with paintings instead of just with normal animation, like overlaid with painting. It was so really high effort and it looked fantastic. I don't like how much the mid section, the middle chunk. So what episode is it? 12, I think. One episode, it's basically just like the first half is just a fucking recap.
Yep.
Which was annoying. I understand it's necessary for like it because it's an in-universe explanation of what's been going on to another person, but it is annoying because it's like 10 minutes of just a compilation of all the angels being destroyed up until this point. But
I don't think I remember what you're talking about.
It's all before the title card, and it's like halfway through the episode. It's just really awkwardly paced.
It's really weird how the title cards were different every single episode, so the time it takes to get to the name of the episode or whatever that card is that's all in Japanese and is rarely ever translated, and then you'll have a chunk of the episode and then it flashes with the wiggity woo Neon Genesis Evangelion and then the actual title of the episode. It's like, we're almost done with the episode. There's 5 minutes left. Why are you reminding me what show I'm watching?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm a big fan of the you just watch the craziest shit ever and then the title hits, but like that one it doesn't really quite work here because sometimes it does kind of feel like random episode card placement. It's not timed consistently.
What's funny is even though 13 hold on. Episode 13 is probably my favorite. Episode 1's still so fucking good just because of how it introduces you to like everything.
It does definitely. The first episode does start off very strong. It does take advantage of a few too many tropes for me just to start off with, but it for the most part does start off pretty strong. It gets you involved quickly enough for me, which is so funny. It's like Shinji just gets pulled into this like big secret, not secret, like non-government org, and it's like immediately shoved into a robot.
Yeah,
it's like you should do this thing. He's like, but I don't want it. I just got here. What the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, get in the robot.
Yeah, and it's like Mommy Misato that's like bringing him to Tokyo 3. It's a video. It's a photo of her and like pointing to her cleavage and shit like that. I can't remember if the writing's actually from her about that or if it's just like. Just people that he's shown the picture to.
I don't remember.
It's hard. It's implied that she wrote, "Hey, look at my cleavage."
I like that the episode starts off with the really good character action for her, and it's like, "Fuck, I already lost the kid." And it's like, we don't know who this woman is, but we know she's looking for Shinji, and she already like lost.
And
track.
She's got a hot car, and she's hot.
That too, and it's like it is really good to get the characterization in your brain immediately. And that's something that Shinji doesn't get for like 3 episodes because he's pretty boring. So it takes a while to get what little bits of personality he does have. Mm-hmm.
He's always repeating the same fucking song constantly whenever he's sad. And he's always trying to run away and he doesn't know what he wants to do.
despite me ragging on Shinji, I do like the character work. It's a good use of a mostly blank slate protagonist. It's just out of everyone in the show, he is the most boring one.
No, I agree entirely. Hold on. Shinji is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's worthless. But that's probably, since we feel that way, it means they did good.
Yes, it's the point. Despite the fact that he is kind of a piece of shit, like, he still should go do things that make him happy, because just moping and being like, nobody likes me, is literally making your life worse. Like, go do something that will make you interesting, and people will just come to you eventually. Like,
or just do things that you like and don't care what.
Find self-fulfillment in doing stuff instead of instead of just like getting other people's attention. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of I think evident in the show when Asuka gets introduced, and it's obviously like this big breath of fresh air. It livens up the show because she's a crazy bitch. And taking that information in with the fact that she's really front and center on the rebuilds, I'm very confident that she was the original protagonist before the show got rewritten. I don't know 100%.
Wait, say that again, Asuka?
Yeah, I think Asuka was at some point planned to be the protag because there's more to work with. And potentially because of all the stuff going on in the creator's like personal life, he wanted to change the focus up or whatever. I really feel like, because she's obviously become a fan favorite, and the company and the creator are refocusing on her too much with the rebuild stuff, painfully so. She's become way too front and center. Like, she is basically the actual protag now with the remake versions of the stuff. Like,
I don't know if I entirely agree with you.
I think it's obvious that it was a character that they clearly wanted to do more with, and that's why they pushed off introducing her for so many episodes, because she comes in episode like 8. Like, it's almost like a third of the way through the show.
8.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. It just feels.
I feel like she should have came in earlier.
I definitely think a couple of episodes earlier wouldn't have been bad. I don't think right out the gate. I think waiting a little bit would have been good, because it was nice to set up the dynamic at Nerve before she gets introduced. But when it was like 8 episodes in, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is the end of the first act of the show, finally. You know? And that's my biggest real complaint with the show is, despite me liking every episode, I think if you tightened up the pacing, you could cut like 5 episodes worth of runtime. Not episodes entirely, but like the amount of time.
So what's funny is that after this show, give me 1 second. After the anime, there was a high demand for the manga, and I have the manga and I've been reading through. I haven't finished the manga, but he didn't feel like there was a reason to keep just to do it, because he's like, that's already animated. Why do you want stills of this now? But it created a way for him to actually fix certain things and introduce characters way better.
Mm-hmm. I've heard some positive things about the manga.
Because Asuka gets introduced, to the kids as kids, not as, an Ava person yet. And they're like, oh, this person's crazy. And then the Ava is shown in such a cool fucking way. He basically has that, giant cloak immediately. Asuka has the coolest Ava out of all of them. Asuka has the coolest one.
Yeah.
Well, obviously.
I like how Asuka's Ava suit, what she wears into the Ava, is literally the Metroid suit.
Yes. Sorry, it's a pedo suit, okay? I can't not cringe. It's a skin-tight bodysuit on a child. You're right, though. It is very Metroid.
Okay, you know what's funny? The creator of all of this, I can never remember his name. The creator of Evangelion was very, very surprised to see anyone cosplay his characters, because he was like, the suits are so tight. It's like skin. I don't know of anything that's actually tight enough to wear. They'd have to go naked. So hopefully no one will cosplay as them. And then he sees them and he's like, oh, latex. Huh. Well, I fucked up.
I have feelings about that whole shenanigans, but that's a very complicated conversation for not on air.
Put Masato in one of those plug suits.
Yeah.
That's it.
So my big thing that I think is the most pondering my orb part of the show, other than like, wow, look, Shinji's losing his mind, this is cool, is I do actually like the very Freudian type overtones with it. I think it's interesting. I think sometimes it very much so crosses lines.
I'm smiling at you, not because I think you're weird, but because I agree.
So I've described this all of this multiple ways, and I'm not going near the Rebuild movies ever again because I watched like an hour of the first one, and it was uncomfortably.
I thought we were going to be talking about those eventually.
No.
What?
No.
You know what's so funny?
I'm not watching 12 hours of pedos. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not.
I found this so funny because Spencer, for the record, everyone needs to know that when I said, hey, we're going to watch Evangelion, we should do this for the topic eventually. He's like, okay, and then he's like, okay, so the rebuilds are what we're going to watch. I'm like, those are not the show. He's like, well, I heard online that these are the easiest ways, most easiest consumed, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's not, no, you need the first shit first, okay?
I know that because then I went and looked into it.
And then now he's tried watching it, he's like, nope, can't, don't want to watch all these pedos.
I'm sorry, this is my point, is, so if the original show and the end of Evangelion is dangerously close to being lost in the sauce of commentating on entitlement, sexual frustrations, and teenageness, the Rebuild movies are off the fucking deep end, and they're just sexualizing children. Like, easily distinctive. It's so obvious, which is why it's disappointing, is because the show, and especially end of Evangelion, which we'll talk about in a couple weeks, was a commentary on how you shouldn't be sexualizing children because it's weird and fucked up, and the fanboys, otakus, are really entitled to, like, female characters in anime, and that's fucking weird and creepy. Mm-hmm. And then they just go do it. And it's really frustrating, and I refuse. I will not watch those ever again. I can't.
I think I'll have to rewatch those because I don't understand what you're...
There's 6-minute long sequences of fan service.
The things that you say of that, it just makes me think of, like, what you might call that for this show already. Like, because I've watched all 4 of those movies, and it's just pretty much the same shit.
I really feel like it's got a very different overtone to it. I think
on a separate point,
total screen time spent focusing on child's boobs is very different in those movies.
Oh, that scene.
A separate point. What Spencer was trying to say about takeaways and thought food and whatever. What I was stuck on is the angels themselves, because it's kind of dealt with in the show if, like, angels are sent by God, and yet all of humanity is using the Evangelions to fight against the angels and kill them. And then also the Evangelions are angels that have been, like, changed to fight against other angels, and it's... I was waiting for the God part. Because there was never... the show never went over the hill and showed the other side. It was always stuck on just, we're going to be stuck on this side and fight the angels.
So, the second impact, that's what started this all, right? With Adam. Okay, yeah. So the second impact started with Adam, the first angel and whatever. Technically, that's God. But also, technically, he's human. The whole angels and man are just the 2 separate parts of man. There is one man that took from the apple of the knowledge of good and evil, which is us. And then the ones that took from the apple of life and death are the angels, because they are like super uber fast evolution type stupid shit, and we are like the slow monkeys.
So, Jacob...
You are a slow monkey.
That is true. Jacob, you're going to want to, like, Wikipedia surf on this, because some of this is lost in translation for the English version. The point on that I find more interesting than, like, the mythology of it, which is usually what's really interesting for me, is because that's not the focus of the show. The show is it's a backdrop for the character stuff. I find the separation of the angels and the humans more interesting in the way that it's the angels have a hive mind, basically, and it's about, especially towards the end of the show, it's a lot about like the bad folk are trying to force humanity to evolve into that, and it's a really
Sele.
it's really weird and like kind of mindfucky, but like the things that hold us back are fear, and that's the problem with every single character in this show, and that's why they're all lonely, even though they're all surrounded by people who do give a shit about them. Like all the characters have like a big, like you could name it, a clear fear that holds them back from being properly vulnerable with people and like holding contradictory things. Like Asuka wants attention but also hates it when people look at her, and like all that stuff. And it's like the angels don't have that because like the walls between their minds have basically been removed. Like it just turns into like one big puddle.
They're one big orange juice.
Yeah. I just think it's really interesting stuff on like more on like a philosophical level than like a metaphysics, if that makes any sense. Like I don't, the science I could give two less shits about.
No, because there's really no science in this. But what I'm saying is that angels are basically just humans, but the quote unquote by Sele saying they're the better because they're a hive mind and they want to be the hive mind.
This entire show is on Netflix. Have you bought it on disc? Any of it?
So actually I have the disc. I have the first show. I have all the rebuilds, but I have the like better translation on a hard drive as well.
Wow.
At some point, I would like to get a hold of this on Blu-ray. I just haven't looked into it too terribly much.
I do.
I
have
saw
the Blu-ray.
it at Walmart, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, why no? It's on Netflix.
Yeah. So the just because you ended up watching the Netflix when Netflix got a hold of the licensing to stream it a couple of years ago, they redid the dub, and it's worse. I have a feeling Jacob probably will never go back to this, which is lame because I think you should. But I just want to make sure that the copy I get, I do like the subbed version. It is done very well, despite me not always. I do like a case-by-case basis on whether or not I watch something subbed or dubbed. It kind of depends on how good the English version is.
I like the dub of the show. I do sub when it's the rebuilds.
Interesting. That's weird. I think the dub is fine. Like the original English dub is all right. The Netflix one just has some weird changes to it from what I could tell, and I didn't want to look into it too much.
Best anime ever?
Best anime TV show, maybe.
Wow.
It is on my top 5.
It's definitely in that neck of the woods. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what may not be in the top 5 of best animes ever. Star Wars Visions. Episode 7, The Bandits of Golak. Fleeing from their village by train and pursued by ferocious Imperial forces, a boy and his father, and his Force-sensitive younger sister seek refuge in a vibrant and dangerous Daba.
I didn't love this one, but I really liked how Indian it was. This was done by an Indian studio, like animation studio, and I really liked all the cultural flavors that they had on it. It felt like Diet Clone Wars animation.
Not interested. Sorry.
It wasn't great.
I barely even remember what... Actually, I remember the entirety of it. It's just... I was like, oh, this reminds me of this episode, and this one, and this one, and this one. Oh, it reminds me of... It's just Clone Wars. It's just a... Throw a rock into the Clone Wars show. It'll probably be the same episode.
It did have that vibe.
The final fight with the old lady with the 2 lightsabers was cool.
I did like the lightsaber cane thing. That was nice. But
that was pretty much it.
The music was my real positive for this one. The music was fantastic. It was very culturally authentic, and it was also very Star Wars at the same time. And I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, the animation, the character designs were all okay, but something about the animation, rigs that they were running them on was really awkward. More awkward than early Clone Wars awkwardness.
The sister needed to get punted. She just needed to be put in a trash bag and punted. She was so annoying. Did not give 2 shits about what's going on.
Collin does not like children.
That's
well,
not
also,
true.
everything she did was the
like
wrong thing,
undisciplined children.
And that's what caused all of the story to happen, is you're stupid. The next episode was The Pit. A fearless young prisoner forced to dig for Kyber by the Empire plans a risky escape for he and his people. Wouldn't it be him and his people? Also, not very good.
Boo.
I did not like the animation at all. It was clunky. It didn't look good almost all of the time.
Yeah, this one was really rough.
The voice acting was bad almost all the time.
This one felt cheap more than anything
It was
else.
just terrible.
I was like, oh, holes. This reminds me of holes.
When I was watching it, I was more so thinking of the pit from Dark Knight Rises the whole time.
Oh yeah, there was that too. I was like, oh, holes. Oh, The Dark Knight Rises. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, this.
So it's
oh,
really
that.
anticlimactic. I really hope that the last episode of this batch comes in clutch. This has, on the whole, been much better than last chunk of stuff. Like, almost every single one of these has been more interesting than a lot of last seasons, which is good. But I really hope that the last one doesn't come in as a stinker, and then we end on a bad note.
Spencer, what did you do this week besides fantasize about shooting Collin with a submachine gun, a paintball gun? Just at like point blank in the chest.
Ooh.
You don't kill
You're
him,
gonna raspberry my boobies?
but you inflict great pain
Fuck you.
for a week.
Because you had... like, oh, he's gonna raspberry my boobies.
Collin's boobies go...
Collin's boobies go burr.
That's disgusting. So I've been working on this project for about 2 months now, and I'm finally able to talk about it. I'm going to break this into 2 chunks for mine, so I can only talk about one half of it. I read all of DC's Future State event.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's time, baby! I've had these books sitting on my shelf since the event wrapped up, like a year and a half ago. So there's 2 chunks of this. So this happened after Death Metal ended. It was a sneak peek forward into a potential future 5 years in the future for the DC Universe. And it was a lot of regurgitated old plans from the 5G event, which was what was actually planned originally. It was like a massive continuity, now all fits in linear time type thing, which I thought was really interesting, but it was clearly way too big. It was too ambitious. DC would never, and they didn't. So this was some leftover plans they kind of folded into, like, what if Gotham turned into a police state, as if it's not already one as is. So there's 2 chunks. There's the Gotham stuff, and then there's everything else. So I'm just going to talk about the Gotham stuff. Basically, Gotham turns into a police state. There's a big non-government organization, a private security contractor called the Magistrate, headed up by Peacekeeper 01, and it's just a police state. There's nothing really interesting about this other than the fact that it looks cyberpunk as shit, which is awesome. So there are multiple lines, or not lines necessarily. All of this event is done in, say it would be an issue that has like a main story and then a backup story or 2, and then there are some stories that are like just 2 issues for 1 story. It's all over the place. So there was the Dark Detective book, which I think was the highest quality one. It is the one that follows Bruce Wayne after he is assumed dead, and then he goes all cyberpunk, punk rock underground, and then defeats all the bad guys. The art is done by Dan Mora, and it looks fucking insane. Batman looks way too young, which is really funny because Batman's supposed to be like 50 by this point, and he looks like he's like 28. But Dan Mora is a really, really talented artist. It looks really sharp. The cyberpunk elements are well thought out. The coloring is fantastic. And it's just really cool. The other runs follow the rest of the Bat family, Nightwing, Robin, and so on, just going on other adventures as the Resistance, basically. Some characters are assumed dead, some of them are thrown in prison. It's all over the place, and barely coherent. Jace is the new Batman. He's the next Batman. He is one of Lucius Fox's 2 sons. He has a very different story than Bruce Wayne because he accidentally killed someone and then went into the military to cope. So he's just a very different type of character. He has a different skill set. He's obviously still a fantastic fighter, and he has a lot of tech knowledge because his dad is Lucius Fox, but he's like actually guilt-ridden, and that's why he does his actions, instead of Batman being like, you're special. you know you can't bring your parents back. Like, what's wrong with you? This guy, he literally accidentally killed someone, and he feels bad about it. So it's a very different dynamic, which is cool. He is also a black guy as a vigilante in a police state. So he hides the bottom half of his face where you can see his skin color. It's a really cool meta element of the story, which I did enjoy.
I kind of like that.
It's a
Did
cool.
they call attention to that, or is that your own notes and headcanon?
John Ridley, the writer, has explicitly stated that that's why he did it. They don't entirely acknowledge it in the book.
Because I
mean, I feel like that would be the only reason why he would cover his face, because it's literally a separate...
Spencer showed me, it looks really good, but I was just curious to know if it's specifically stated in the story or elsewhere.
I think it's more... You would probably be able to pull it more from the subtext. There's one story, it's not included in these books, but it was a... Jace as Batman with his Robin in a... I think it was in the Batman Black and White anthology series. It was just a little story. It was them beating up like Nazis. So there was definitely some subtext there that you could pull from. But like aesthetically speaking, it's a really cool choice. Like just the contrast where he has like the Batman Beyond type cowl is really cool. But Jace as a character is fine. The story is fine. The art is fine. And that's the more disappointing part is if you're going to sell me this is the Batman of the future, you have to haul fucking ass and make that shit really good. If it's not going to be one of the Robins, if it's not going to be Dick, if it's not going to be Terry McGinnis, then you really need to demonstrate why it should be this character, and they just don't really do that. It's interesting, and this character has been pulled into like main continuity, which is really cool, and I hope that book is good. I haven't been following that yet, but it was just kind of disappointing as like the linchpin for this whole Gotham side of the event. There's a bunch of other stories. It's fucking incoherent, and this is my biggest problem with this, is there's no direct inciting incident of the magistrate taking over Gotham. There's no explicit timeline. The issues do not fit together well at all. I was trying to make a reading order for this event, and I couldn't do it. Like, the way that the issues are chopped up just doesn't work at all. The plan was fucking abysmal. There is one run which I think starts off really strong and then ends being some of the worst comics I've read in my life. There is a Gotham ongoing book, so it was just Future State Gotham. It follows primarily Jason Todd as a diet peacekeeper, basically. Like, he's like a contractor who works for the feds, and he brings in superheroes. It's a whole cool dynamic. A lot of the art in the beginning was like very manga inspired, so it's black and white. It's just like pen and paper. It's really, really cool, and it slowly degrades into probably the worst Batman comics I've read in my life by the end of it. The Future State Gotham run was ongoing after the event had ended, which I thought was a cool idea, to keep this time period alive, I guess. But by the end of, I think it was 18 issues, Damian Wayne comes back from hell and is Batman 666 and is possessed by the dead spirit of Joe Chill. It's fucking insane. The art is horrid, and I just have no clue what the hell happened. I really don't know what the hell that was. I could barely tell what I was reading. Yeah. This was rough.
Sounds like it was very rough.
That's barely even touching on half of it. It's rough. There's a few really good issues I could point out specifically. Good art here, good writing here. That's good, but like the way that these are all collected, because it's like it's like Future State Dark Detective 1 through 4, and then the backup stories and all of those was like a spoiler story or something like that, and those are all put together in one pile, and the way that they're ordered in the trades is fucking atrocious. It's incoherent. There's no good way to read any of these, like, at all. There's just no shot. It's barely worth looking into. I could just point out these couple of issues you should read because they're cool. That's it. And that's only the first half. Collin!
I'll go first. I read Justice League by Scott Snyder, the Deluxe Edition, Book 1. Written by Scott Snyder and also James Tynion IV.
My dad.
Yes, both of them. This is coming in hot off of Dark Knight's Metal and then No Justice, right?
Yeah.
That was the stepping stone. That was just 4 issues. I talked about that a little while ago. So the source wall is broken. That happened in Dark Knight's Metal. And then I just had it too. The stupid freaking power source crash lands. What is it called? I don't know. Something sparkly crashes into Earth, and the Justice League has to look into it because it comes from the source wall, or maybe even beyond the source wall.
So it's like God's toenail.
I guess so. I don't even remember what it turned out to be, or if it's to be continued. Lex Luthor is building the Legion of Doom, and that all looks super cool and hot. Really good artwork there. They shrink down and they get into like Superman's brain as Superman is trying to look at God's toenail. And they kind of take control of him for a hot minute. Him and I think Martian Manhunter. Batman is paralyzed, so he's kind of pulling an Oracle from home until he wears a Lex Luthor Iron Man suit.
Of course, Batman got to work from home for this mission.
I mean, I kind of like that he was put on the DL because he just had his own event. Like,
yeah.
Let's sideline him for a minute.
Wasn't this was it Phil Jimenez on art for this?
I think so.
I'm trying to remember off the top. I've seen this run a lot. I've heard a lot of things. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I know the covers all look really pretty. Collin was just very confused by God's toenail.
I was.
Collin, you know what's beyond the source wall, right?
The source wall.
The source
Mommies. Lots and lots of
Source
mommies.
wall.
40 mommies.
40 mommies.
Mommies. All I care about is Mommy Masato.
Oh my gosh.
I am not finding who the artist is right now. I could get you the book if you want to know. God's toenail stuff was all interesting and good, but then it was very suddenly interrupted with Drowned Earth, which is just Black Mantis kind of bucking the system against the Legion of Doom and using the old aquatic gods that were locked away to flood the whole earth and turn everybody into sea monsters. And it was messy and the artwork was less good. It was still fine, but it was just an event that was forced into this series, and it sucked because it was just a huge change of pace and it was a pointless event. It was like, why is this happening? Because I guess it was coming in from Aquaman's comic line at the time, and they had to have a crossover event in the middle of trying to figure out what's happening with God's toenail. And there was a lot of words and stuff, and they were like, we need to do all of the things. They were like mansplaining horribly through all 4 issues. It was like anime-splaining.
Wow.
We need to go do the thing and attack the bad guys and kill them dead because they're killing the earth.
And end this once and for all.
Yes. We don't have friends, we have family.
Do you know The Rock is coming back to the Fast and Furious franchise?
I don't give a shit. I don't like Fast and Furious. It's super gay. And also I don't like The Rock because he's also super fucking gay. He can eat my ass.
Are you saying you don't like the gays?
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
That's the only good thing about The Rock is that he got turned into a meme for that, and also like the Rock face, whatever it is. Yeah, that stupid ass look.
Fine boom sussy?
Anyway, there are 2 books that come after this, and I plan to tackle those soon. This book got a 4 out of 5 stars because at the very least it looks good.
Damn.
It's very confusing to read sometimes.
How much did you pay for it?
I want to say it's $30, and it collects issues 1 through 12, and then the 4 Drowned Earth issues, I believe, something like that.
Weird.
4 out of 5. We'll read more.
It's got Superman on the cover. Superman.
Let me go get it. Well, go ahead.
I
Ball.
finished season 1 of Spawn, the animated series.
Oh, wooga.
Which is each season 1 at least is only 6 episodes long, about 25 to 27 minutes each episode. So Spawn, as we all know, is about a man named Al Simmons who is brought back to life from hell, promised to see his wife again if he becomes a Hell Spawn, which is basically a ranking officer in Satan's army, and he has to help Satan get a bunch of souls.
I apologize. I commandeered your talking point because you said when you got here you hadn't watched or read anything.
That's okay.
So,
And then I realized I finished at least season 1 of Spawn.
okay, cool.
Commandeered.
So the first season is about how Spawn is learning to be a Spawn, what's going on, why he's back. The Filer, is that what the clown's name is?
The
Violator.
Violator. Okay,
You.
so it's not me. That's you.
Yeah.
So there's this clown that's like a weird outer demon god being thing, whatever. He's a weird shit who pretends to look like the clown, and he's supposed to be there to show Spawn what he needs to do and basically to put him back on track for Satan. But he doesn't do a good job at it because he just kind of pisses around and makes jokes rather than actually forcing Spawn to do what Spawn needs to do.
Oh my gosh, that's so hot. I love that color palette.
She's hot. So Spawn basically just kind of does a couple of heroic acts in trying to like help his ex-wife, or to him it's his wife, and his wife's daughter. He's trying to figure out who did this to him and stuff like that. But at some point he kind of just becomes a trash man, hangs out basically in the trash, and his home base is in an alleyway with a bunch of homeless people where he sleeps in the trash and also sometimes hangs out on the top of the Catholic Church.
Damn, he is literally Daredevil.
Did
He's
the
literally
show
Daredevil.
cover the comics where there's like a gang war and it was written by Frank Miller and he was like killing the gang because this is his alley and his homeless people and his family?
So I can't really tell yet. What I can tell you right now is that he has basically told the cops to leave the alley because it's his alley. And the narrator's like, whether this is a little bit of his humanity trying to save his fellow whatevers, or maybe it's just a predator who sees this as his home, as his place, that no one's allowed to be in, stuff like that.
Okay, so the cops are gangsters, got it.
Yeah, the cops are fucking pieces of shit half the time. But also Spawn took one of the cops and put him up against the wall and then took this like metal pipe and wrapped it around his neck so he'd be stuck on the wall. And then sometimes he would go away with like blood. But Spawn kind of gets over himself because he's like, I can't do anything right. I can't even save the people that I love, and blah, 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 blah. But then, like, this Merlin-looking ass dude who's a homeless guy, like, that knows everything about Spawn for some reason. I'm assuming it's God, because if I know Spawn correctly, it's probably just fucking God.
Jesus was kind of homeless for a while, so.
Well, duh.
Well, duh.
Well, duh. I'm not God, though. Jesus. Let's not get in this argument. And he's like, oh, I gotta stop this pedophile, but only because he took my wife who cucked me's child, and I gotta save her for my wife, and blah blah blah, and it's just a bunch of stupid sad shit, which I love, and he feels bad for himself and stupid stuff like that. He saves his wife's daughter, and she calls him the sad man, and she's like, the sad man saved me, mommy. And her mom's like, who's that? And she's like, the sad man gave me this, and it's literally his ring that says like Al and Wanda, and she starts profusely crying and shit like that because she has no idea how she got how that happened, because the ring was like in his grave or whatever. I don't know. I love the shit. This shit's great.
Hot mom.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, they're always showing her tits, like always,
gosh.
like there's like him in his dreams, like he's dreaming about her, and like they're having sex or something, and then she
maybe
gets
Todd
like,
McFarlane had more control over this show than I was aware of.
yeah, and then she takes, and then like they have sex in his dream, and then he's like, oh, I'm in hell, and then she gets like taken away, and then like he's chained up, and like the violator has him or whatever.
Ginky.
Yeah, it's so funny. He's so fucked up, but his like nose is gone. Like he just doesn't have a nose. There's not even a spot where the nose would be. It's just no nose when he takes off his mask, simply for the silhouette. Simply for the silhouette of the face.
Did you enjoy this?
Oh, I love this show. I love this. I mean, I had to take a break because it was fucking. The dark stuff I can't handle for long periods. It messes with me emotionally, so like that's why I haven't gotten back to True Detective. But like,
because Neon Genesis Evangelion is
it's not
positive and happy all the time.
It's not the same dark.
But sometimes she runs out into the apartment and has a beer for breakfast, and it's fun.
Sometimes?
And silly every day. But then the penguin goes whack. I love that pen. It's so stupid.
I love beer for breakfast. It's so stupid.
It is great. No, okay, hold on. But the aesthetics are different. That's why it doesn't bother me as much. Like, this is literally just everything's dark. Everything feels dark. Your piss is black. You're shitting blood. It's all this dark shit. We talk about the KKK. Todd McFarlane reminds me of the beginnings of Goosebumps.
It sounds like a good time. It sounds like every metal show I've ever been to.
Yeah, so
Everybody's
it's great.
just shitting
It's great,
blood.
but I just can't deal with it for too long, so I have to take a break. Now I'm gonna go to, and now I'm doing Game of Thrones and shit like that. But it's different from Evangelion because it's just aesthetics. It's just different.
I too can't shit blood for too long. I need to take a break.
Yeah. All right, Spencer. What else? Talk about your stupid shit that you got going on.
Look at the pretty artwork in this book while he's talking.
Hawkgirl, more like a hot girl.
More like Hawk Mom.
That's one of my favorite Superman, like, subtypes of costumes. I like it when the fucking traps are busting out of, like, the neckline. I don't mind, like, the collar thing sometimes, but I like it when it's, like, the fucking, like, the Rock's Black Adams that we're talking about, where it's, like, it literally looks like they just, like, shoved it down his neck. I like that. Wide neck boy.
Tell me more about Future State and how wonderful and fun it was.
Yeah! Okay, so it kind of gets a little better. Kind of. So the other chunk of Future State is everything else in the DC universe, which should tell you something about DC's priorities. This has been a long-standing complaint. Batman is the focus of everything for no reason, and all the other stories are at least probably better. So just the rest of this happens, and this is all spread out over an even longer time period in the future than the Batman stuff, which is all focused around like a couple of year period.
Wasn't this teased to be like a Wonder Woman centric-ish thing?
No, actually, I know what you're talking about. That was the Infinite Frontier like startup, which was the same time period that they released, because Future State was the like random thing they did on the side, and then the beginning of Infinite Frontier was like, so Wonder Woman is like goated with the sauce now.
Right.
Yeah.
She is a god, but doesn't want to be.
Yes. So there's a bunch of really disconnected stories in this one. There are miniseries for the Suicide Squad, which follows Amanda Waller on Earth 3, if I remember correctly, which is where the Justice Society? Crime Syndicate is from, which I talked about last week or the week before, the Forever Evil event. So she goes back to Earth 3 because she knows the world is all screwy and she wants to make a new Suicide Squad, and it's fine. There's a Flash story where Wally West is evil again for the 80th time in a 10-year period, and Barry has to use all of the Rogue's gadgets to kill him. I really wanted to like this concept because I think it's cool when the Flash doesn't have like speed powers. I like it when the Flash has to use his ingenuity and his background as either like a criminal investigator or a cop or whatever, the different types of Barry Allen you get. I think that's cool, but this was incomprehensible.
Wonder Woman thighs.
The story...
Oh, I love women. Okay, you can go now.
The story on this one was very, very hard to understand. Wally is possessed by one, I believe it's Famine, one of the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which is not explained in this story. It's explained in Teen Titans, because Wally used to be a Teen Titan, sort of. The Teen Titans story is really fucking bad. The art's kind of pretty, but it's about, like, the Titans Academy, which is, like, the school now that the older Titans are running for the younger Titans. It gets destroyed. It was infiltrated from the inside by the Red X. Who is the Red X? You'd never find out in this timeline, because it doesn't matter. This was really bad. This very heavily ties into, or kind of tries to tie into, the Teen Titans Academy run that was going on at the time, which was also really bad, if I'm being honest. Nightwing becomes, like, I think it's Deathwing. He, like, has, like, a half Nightwing, half Deathstroke outfit, which looks really cool, but it makes no sense. That run was really bad. The positives here. There's a few ones that I thought were absolutely fantastic. Swamp Thing, as always, coming in hot, the best story in this entire event. It is done by the ongoing team, so it's Ram V and Mike Perkins. It is set like a bajillion years in the future, and it's like Swamp Thing talking to a bunch of his children who are just Fig Newtons of his imagination, basically. Like, it's just trees talking to each other. I really, really like that one. Superman Worlds at War was pretty solid. It is also done by the ongoing team, which was Philip Kennedy Johnson and Michael Janin, I think. And it's Superman on War World being covered in gladiator chains, the kinky outfit. And he's, like, fighting people in a pit, and Mongol is all, I'll make you kill so many people that you forget who you are, or whatever. It's really weird, but it's about Superman, like, going to go liberate a planet from literal slavery, which is really cool. The art is gorgeous. There is a story with Yara Flor, who's one of the new Wonder Women. She's really, really good. The story is okay. It's about her going to the underworld to go find one of her lost friends. The friend ends up dying anyways. But it's like Yara Flor's origin story, and then she was also brought into the main timeline. That's the big emphasis of this entire event, is, like, they want more legacy characters, and they're gonna test them out. And some of them work and some of them don't. Yara Flor is, I don't know how old she actually is, but she's effectively, like, 19, like, age-wise. She's brash, loud, very wacky. I believe she's Brazilian. So she's from another, like, sect of Amazons. It's really cool. So her story was fantastic. The Aquaman story was between Jackson Hyde, Aquaman, and Arthur Curry and Mara's daughter. I don't remember her name. She's, like, 10 years old in current timeline now, I think. So, like, it's like Jackson Hyde and, like, his niece, basically. It's just them doing Aquamaning adventures where they're like, Ree, you got captured and I gotta go find you and stuff. It's kind of like a Batman and Robin dynamic, which I thought was cool. The art for that was also really pretty. And then the Justice League run was okay. This was, I think, the central story for most of it, even though none of the events are really relevant. So this Justice League is made up of Jonathan Kent Superman, Yara Flor Wonder Woman, one version of the Flash from, it's like Earth -89 or something. I do not remember their name. And the daughter of Aquaman and Mara, so it's whatever the hell her name is. She is Aquawoman now. Jace Fox is Batman, and maybe somebody else. It's a legacy lineup of the Justice League, and I think the aesthetic that they capture is really cool. All the costuming is really cool. Jace has an all black Batman outfit with a bright yellow emblem, and it looks sick as fuck. And the story is basically, like, some, bad group of bad guys comes back, and they're like, we will get rid of you because you're the Justice League now. And it's about the League learning to trust each other, because their prerogative now is they don't share their personal lives with each other, they don't know each other's real names, they don't share secret identities, except all of them actually do behind closed doors, because apparently there was this big falling out with, like, the OG Justice League that dealt with secret identities, and nobody ever explains what the fuck it was, which is really annoying. So this was, like, their new rule, is none of us socialize, we're not friends. And then through the story they learn that's dumb and cringe and doesn't work anyways, because half the League are literally fucking. So all be friends, and they learn to trust each other. There's really cool detail work because there's like imposters, Amogus. Jace Fox as Batman hums his own battle music, which I think is really a weird detail that I like.
I like that.
That's how they have to learn how to differentiate each other from the imposter versions of them. So it's like, what's something about me that you can pick up on that someone imposturing me wouldn't imposturing? That's not correct.
Something in the way.
Something that someone as an imposter wouldn't like pick up on. So it's like Jace actually hums really quietly. That's like Superman notices because he's got them big super ears, stuff like that. That's kind of silly, but I thought it was neat. The art was okay. It was really rushed. This was better, I think, on the whole, but considering half of this event, so maybe 40 to 50 issues of it in total, it's like 100 issues if you add everything together, I think, is half of this whole thing is bad. And half of it is Batman, and then the other half is everything else. So it's a really bad plan, there's bad priorities at play, but some cool stuff came out of it. A handful of really cool stories and a couple of really cool new characters, which is nice. I was really looking forward to this too. And this was fucking grueling. It took me months to read all of this because it was painful and I was like taking notes to try to make sense of it.
Jeez. Well, that was painful to listen to.
Yeah, it was rough. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like 8 trade paperbacks of varying size. Some of them were like big chunkers. It was so much stuff.
So is that everything you have to say about this?
Yes.
I'm on Facebook Marketplace and I found a sign. It's advertised as a man cave sign, but it says slow children, and I think it belongs in our recording studio.
How much is it? Can we afford it is the question.
$60.
We should do that.
No.
What? So irresponsible.
I think that's a good idea.
I love how all the things that we're like, we should buy, so it's like, no. But the one thing, actually, all the things that we say we want to buy, but could actually be useful, he says no. But the one thing that says slow children, and it's a sign he wants. He is the slow child.
How about a 12-foot craps table?
Why the fuck would we need a craps table?
What the fuck is craps?
It's a type of gambling.
That's gross.
Dice game.
Gross. The only dice game I like is D&D and freaking Dark Souls, the board game.
It's only $3,600.
I'll take a new car, please.
Yeah, right? Alright. I need a stretch.
Big stretch.
Stop molesting me.
This is gonna be a bitch day.
Ow, 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 ow.
You just got a beard hair in there. I saw it happen. That sucks.
I have the Ta-Nehisi Coates Black Panther Omnibus. And I did not read the whole thing. I read the equivalent of the first 3 trade paperbacks. Issues 1 through 12, and I think a prelude issue. Beans. Collin, what did you read? I'm kidding.
I'll take over. So what I read I haven't read anything else.
Yeah, Collin doesn't read.
Fuck you. That's a fucking lie.
This is not a political comic at all. Black Panther is the king of Wakanda, and his country is mad at him because he went off and played with the Avengers yet again. And Wakanda got into trouble while he was gone. Yet again. And Shuri died because she was leading Wakanda.
Oops.
Because Black Panther wasn't there. And so the political system is in turmoil. Like, the leaders do not know what they're doing and how to lead. And then a lot of the population is rioting because the political system is messed up and their king abandoned them. And then there's the other half of the population that is like, So, this is not allegorical at all for
Collin?
real life events.
Definitely not. I mean, the fact that that Black Panther is a story about a monarch in a isolationist African futurist country is definitely not a political premise at all.
They tackle near the end of the story, I guess, that maybe Wakanda shouldn't be led by a single king. Maybe.
What a concept.
Maybe. Despite being so political, and the author being a journalist, Spencer was imagining that could get very, very wordy, and he was picturing like Todd McFarlane whole pages of words and stuff, and that is not the case. It is balanced really well. The ideas and concepts are presented very well. I actually enjoyed reading this.
Collin, he likes beans. He has found beans that he enjoys.
What the fuck?
Beans are too political. We cannot talk about the existence of beans.
What?
Countries are ruined by beans.
How do you know that this is what
I'm having a stroke.
This has been a running joke.
for ages?
Yeah.
It's
Beans?
anytime
Beans.
you know.
Too political?
Yeah, like Jacob sees a politic happen, and he's like beans, and then runs away.
I think he actually started it
probably
because he was like, this is not our country anymore. We used to be a real country. We used to put beans on toast. And we used to grow...
Oh!
That's where that came.
So then we just say beans. Okay.
You're being political. Beans. Stop it. I love having to explain our own lore.
I forget.
Again, the Wikipedia was a good idea.
I'm doing the Substack. You do the Wikipedia. Shuri comes back and she's got weird bird powers. She can basically how Dracula can transform into a shadow, a cloud of bats and move around. Shuri can do the same thing with crows, and it's not explained. She just does it, and that's weird.
Odin.
Those
are ravens.
There is a villain lady that is pulling the strings, and her powers are feeding off of the bad emotions that the general population of Wakanda has, and so she is the cause of all of these riots, which felt like typical comic book villain. There's a guy behind the scenes pulling the strings and causing bad things to happen, which could be hit or miss for people. But also that villain is not expanded on. She just shows up every once in a while as I'm doing bad things, and then has the green effect on the people doing bad things, and it felt a little bit underbaked. The rest of it is really good. There's a lot of character development with T'Challa. Wow. Had to stretch the brain muscles. There's a lot of character development with T'Challa. And he's like, I am a horrible piece of shit because I left my country without a ruler, and I've been playing with the Avengers, and I've let everything go to shambles, and I'm the worst king ever, and kings is bad anyway, and I don't know what to do. Maybe the population is right, and I should go kill myself, and it really portrays his struggle really well. He actually has to have a little powwow with an exiled religious ruler that's kind of had an influence on the general population, and he's like, what am I supposed to do? Who has a really good conversation with here's what a king does to be good king. It's all really good stuff.
How's the art?
It's okay. It looks good. It feels kind of older. It feels like it had just come out of the early 2000s, 2010s, all digital coloring, and someone was like, this is bad, we need to go back to pencils. So it's it feels like it's trying to recover from the bad digital age.
Huh.
I really, really, really love Black Panther's suit. Anytime he's fighting, his suit always looks like this, but it's especially noticeable when he's fighting because the little ears on top of his head are folded back like the kitty's pissed off.
Yeah,
It looks good.
I love shit like that.
The kitty's mad.
The kitty's mad. We share same brain right now. Kitty mad.
The kitty is mad. Don't pet the kitty.
Petty kitty backwards.
You're a nerd.
I like kitties.
I love kitties.
I like pussy.
I love kitties.
There are 6 other equivalent trade paperbacks for this run.
There's 9 in total
9 trade paperbacks.
in one omnibus.
I believe so. I think it's like a 25 or 26 issue run, and then there's a couple of extras sprinkled in, but not too many.
Damn.
And so, I read 1 through 12. A bloogie woogie woo. Very enjoyable. 4 out of 5 stars.
Jacob liked a bean book. I'm winning.
Spencer checked in on me like 6 times. So like, so how's the Black Panther book?
I was so excited when you said you were
And I
going to
was
read
like,
it.
I'm not talking to you
I'm not talking to you.
because I'm enjoying it. And if I say that, you're gonna ask all the questions.
This guy is like, I don't know if I'm going to like this character very much. I don't know where to start.
I never said that.
You said it was a lot to get into. You
It
didn't
is
know,
a lot
you didn't
to
know
get
where
into.
to start. You're
Yeah.
like, ah! And then he went and bought like the biggest omnibus there is and started reading it.
Some of the struggles that I was worried about are there. You jump in and it's like, oh yeah, sure he died in the last comic run. It's like, what the fuck? How? And then she's in like a third of the story, like in a dream state or whatever, between life and death and talking to her ancestors. It's like, what is going on?
Did you cut your hair?
Yeah.
When?
Mother's Day. Like a month ago.
Damn.
He's such a pretty gal.
Weird.
You're oblivious.
Collin, do you want a question or do you just want to end this?
Give me a question.
Oh.
Hey, hey!
I usually like Jacob's questions.
I have a question.
Yes. Pet the key backwards.
Who would win in a battle? Wonder Woman or Hawkgirl?
Ooh.
What kind of fight are we talking about here? What kind of fight are we talking about, boys?
No clothes with baby oil.
That's even more difficult. Whoa, this is hard. This is so difficult.
I think he's just hard.
I am hard.
You have to make a
Hawkgirl.
whole issue, and the story needs to make sense.
You're so fucked up. I've been thinking about making a 12-issue story of something, or 12-page story of something. I'll just have them fight in an oiled up top.
Why are they fighting, and why does the one that wins?
Okay, so they are fighting for...
The last donut.
Let's say they're fighting for... Oh, it's gotta be a good reason. So, Wonder Woman... I don't know, actually, it probably doesn't have to be for a good reason. Because I would say Wonder Woman sometimes fights just because she wants to, and Hawkgirl definitely fights just because she wants to. Wonder Woman would need a reason, so...
They're on the mascara, and suddenly a man shows up.
That's true.
So they're on...
He's thinking.
Okay, so... Because I can obviously do a reason for the naughty stuff, but like, for like a real comic.
Ancient archaeologists dig up the magical orb of dinosaurs.
It's the first dildo, and they fight over it.
They are fighting over... Okay, easiest answer. They're fighting because they were put on a mission to stop a sorcerer, whatever sorcerer in DC you want, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter, sorceress. And then they got tricked into thinking that they're both monsters, like in the Justice League show. Or they're tricked into thinking that they were, like, each other's worst enemies, blah, blah, blah. And so then they fight. And...
I have a question, too.
Yeah.
What version of Wonder Woman are you going to use? Is she the Sword and Shield one, or is she just the Lasso one?
Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
Sword and Shield.
Of course.
Hawkgirl is, of course, electric mace, or whatever it's, flail? Is that a flail?
Morning Star.
Morning Star. Okay.
Spiky.
Yep, the electric Morning Star. She looks like this. Of
course.
Specifically this one.
I love midriff.
Yeah, okay. And they're fighting, and they do a bunch of fighting, and the person that wins would have to be...
Literally chastity belt.
Good luck editing this.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, because it is so difficult of, like, all I can think of is, like, a whole issue of just them physically fighting. Like, I can't think of who, like, the reason for who would lose. Because Wonder Woman is brutal, but so is she. So it's got to be a reason for, like, one of them to give up.
They are both ancient warriors.
Yeah. So...
I have an idea.
Oh! I got an idea, actually. So...
That's all you had to say.
Yep. So, Hawkgirl loses. Solely because she's a reincarnated version of her god or whatever she is. So we could say that the human bodies suck because reincarnation, because you're human, blah, blah, blah. Where the Amazonian's literally Amazonian and god, so she can just keep fucking pounding cheeks for as long as she wants, you know?
That's kind of what I was going to suggest, actually, was not the pounding cheeks. Was that Hawkgirl should lose just because whatever, you know, like, they're just tit for tat the whole time. It's just the one extra hit, she dies. But because she immediately gets reincarnated, the magic wears off or something. And then she's like, yo, chill, we should not be fighting. Because that would be dumb.
I would say it's just because it's for reasons of stamina. And the body that
you hear that here, boys? Wonder Woman has more stamina.
Oh, she definitely fucking does. She pounds cheeks, dude.
Does tit for tat mean if you give me this tattoo for free, I'll flash you?
No. I don't know what it means, other than, like, what the actual, like, colloquialism is. It's like, you know, like, pound for pound. I don't know.
Tit for tat.
I have no idea what it actually means.
Alright, well, that...
You know who is tit for tat for us? Our patrons.
I'm not sure that makes sense, but
and
okay.
Caitlin. Well, no. We give them something, they give us something. We give them this fantastic content to listen to pleasure their ear holes with.
More like listening to Collin pleasure himself by making stories.
I feel so bad. I really feel so bad for our listeners half the time. So I'm like, wow, I'm just like a fucking degenerate, and they just like it, I guess.
And then they pay us money.
Yeah.
With their money, they gain access to all kinds of things like stickers that come into their mailboxes.
Bookmarks, which magically they magically appear in their books.
They
at
get
random.
Artworks done by Collin, and they get access to our special treasury of audio clips that are put exclusively on the Patreon website. So please, if you have enjoyed what you have heard and would like to support what we do every single week, please go over to patreon.com/dimecomicbros network and sign up under one of the 4 tiers there.
I'd also appreciate it if you go check out the YouTube community tab for updates as to all of our podcast shenanigans. Go check out our Twitter and Instagram for updates, previews, all sorts of weird stuff over there. And go check out our Substack. It is free, and it is linked in the description of the YouTube video, or you can just find it linked on our social media, YouTube, website, and so on.
If you have the same question I did, what the hell is a Substack? It is just the olden internet days of blogging
basically
that has come back.
It's true. It's coming back full force.
But also, it's kind of just a visual aid for the chaos that is entering your ear holes right now.
It is an email chain of sorts. It's a newsletter thingy that Jacob writes up that goes over the gist of what happened in the episode, as well as some cool pictures and posters of what we were talking about. And it gets sent out every week when the episode drops. So go support his pet project.
It's free.
It is literally free. And then tune in next week for the final episode of this batch of Star Wars Visions. The news, more of Jacob's news, and some bullshit.
Wow.
I'm probably going to talk about some gay shit next week because it's gay month.
Wow.
And I have multiple projects I'm working on, so I'm going to talk about some gay books probably.
Wow.
You'll have to put up with that.
Also, a special thank you to Jetpack Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. They sell Spencer all of his gay shit.
They do!
They sell Spencer's?
They do, but not like Spencer's the store, which is a little gay. I was just in the mall.
I've been traumatized walking through that store not knowing what I was in.
It's such a weird hodgepodge of stuff, because it's like part of it's like a gift shop, and then it's like there's dildos in the back.
Oh,
it's
by the
weird.
way, it's a sex shop, too.
It's very weird. Speaking of that, I had this funny thought. I was walking through the mall the other day.
I thought you were going to say you were at Jetpack.
Nope. So I was walking through an almost dead mall, and Hot Topic has been going out of vogue for a very long time. It's not terribly punk anymore. It's very... I was trying to nail down what the aesthetic is, and I realized that it's basically terminally online trans girls. It's knee-high socks, lace, collars, and like moderate amounts of goth wear. But it's all very soft and nerd-coded. Those are my final thoughts as to what Hot Topic is now.
Terminally online trans.
Yes.
Please go over to Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire for all of your comic book and game needs.
That's where I hang out to pick up all the baddies.
Speaking of games, we are about to record our episode 0 of Dungeons and Dragons campaign. It's so exciting. It's probably going to be public? Separately, maybe?
We have yet to decide, but probably.
You don't pick up baddies. You pick up those bionicle trans.
No. You sprinkle the bionicles on the floor, and then you trap them. I'm gonna shut up now.
Dude,
Please edit this out.
All you have to do is just separate the bionicles, and all the trans are going to come together and try to rebuild them and tell you the entirety of the lore of bionicles.
Yes.
Legos make people gay.
That is true.
No, bionicles make people gay and trans.
That is true.
Legos...
You're just defending it because you're into Legos. No, I'm not gay. I only play Lego.
No. I'm into bionicles, too.
Oh my gosh.
I love bionicles.
Let's cut this before I say something.
Say it.
No. Collin's an egg.
You're an egg.
I know.
No way. This boy's just autistic as fuck.
It's just a train. No, but the train goes choo-choo!
Spencer, you're fucked. I was the kid that had like the train whistle, like the wooden box thing. Yeah.
You know a rape whistle?
No, that is the rape whistle for autistic boys.
It is the rape whistle for autistic boys.
That's right. It makes me uncomfy.
No, that's so much fun because someone's like being serious about the game and like, oh yeah, you suck, and I'm just going monkey noises at him.
I thought you had like a push forward or a drop back system set up too.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Ooh. 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 Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh is forward. Ooh. Ooh is back up.
Okay.
And then charging is.
We need to keep him segregated for everyone's safety.
Wait. You wear the helmet, okay? I got this for you.
I'm gonna sneeze, guys.
Oh my gosh, they're so excited about this.
Put on the helmet.
Oh my gosh.
Did you record it?
Yeah. I don't know if he's okay.
I'm not okay! I'm wearing a fucking helmet!
You were giving me shit for talking about trains.
I thought you were gonna wear
I
it.
love monkeys.
I like pussy.
I love kitties.